Okay, so from last video on this, we're talking about Kurt kind of getting very excited about a certain question about bringing in lawyers to sort of, stopping defamation and sort of what he's really worried about is what it sounds like is people saying things that are untrue and mischaracterizing him and his friends and his bandmates and his family, anything that has to do with him. I don't want the mischaracterization. And he just mentioned at the very end of last video that, we wouldn't have to do any of this if we weren't in this position. If we were just allowed to live our normal lives and be musicians, we wouldn't have to deal with this. But the thing about it is, music, sort of evolved in a way. I think that, you could be known as, in early days as a musician, there was always the fame attached to it. But, I don't think people were as crazy as they are now, and coming into this time, like this time in the 90s and stuff like that, man. We were obsessed. I mean, obsessed. And this was a time, nowadays, artists, influencers, stars, who are people who are famous, they're much more accessible now. But, and we know we know we have access to them in many forms in social media. And then when we see them in person, now they take pictures and all such as that. And, I'm not saying that they didn't do that back in the day. I'm just saying that it seems more prevalent or more publicized now. And so there's more access with the media, uptick. There's more access and more, there's more, I'll leave it at saying there's more access, to individuals. And so there's more interactions. And so there's an opportunity to think of these people as your friends. But back in the day, man, like I remember, like they used to hide these people like you couldn't get to them. And this was a time period when people were like stars, like, it would make the mystery around these stars. People would go even crazier because it's like, oh, he looks so cute, but he's so dreamy. I wish I could have him. And that was a real wish. I'm probably not going to ever touch or see this man. So when I touch him, I legitimately fall out because I'm so overwhelmed because this is like really once in a lifetime it was really once in a lifetime to get a picture with, superstars. And Kurt is like, man, I just want to go back to a time when this was simpler. And so here he's a little excited at a question where he learned how to take notes on how to deal with people, defaming his name and how he can, cause he's always learning, he's always learning.
Much after the fact, after we'd already been damaged to a point where it, almost didn't do any good. But, I don't know. It was just a weird realization one day. Wow, I have to, and I can see how like rock and roll stars will all of a sudden, will almost compromise their music to make sure that they sell the same amount of records next year because they've spent all their money on lawyers and protecting themselves last year, but I mean, we obviously haven't done that. I mean, I don't know, maybe you might not have noticed, but the record isn't as commercial as the last one. So we could never bring ourselves to do that. I'd rather just laugh about it. And
I was talking to Amy Mann, Girl from Till Tuesday. She was at our office just a couple days ago. She's on tour with Ray Dave or the Kinks. And
okay, so he's still listening. He's still locked in. She's losing him a little bit, but he's still locked in.
Ray Davies was in the office also. He came in before her. And I had mentioned to her that he was very nice, but really eccentric when I was talking to, kind of nutty. And she said, well, there's a lot of people who have been around the record business for those many years, and most of them are kind of nutty. It just, it makes people nutty.
Yeah.
I mean, you're facing that. That's your future.
Yeah, that's my future. Hopefully we'll put out Metal Machine music next year, I don't know. Either I've accepted it or I've gone beyond insane to where I can deal with it, emotionally. I really don't care. I know that I'm too stubborn to allow myself to ever compromise their music or, get so wrapped up in it and involved to where it's going to, turn us into big rock stars. I mean, I just don't feel like that. Everyone else accuses us of it, but we're
Everyone
not
else is
as
jealous.
popular as everyone thinks. We're not as rich as everyone thinks. It's just
when she said that,
it makes people nutty.
yeah.
I mean, you're facing that. That's your future.
Yeah, that's my future.
when she said, "That's your future," he's like, that's my future. And he looked down and off, and he's looking down and off into the water. And there's an extended pause here.
Hopefully we'll put out Metal Machine.
And he's actually thinking, and now he says, hopefully we'll put it out. What do you mean, hopefully? And that's what's got me wondering whether or not, he already knew what his plan was.
Music next year, I don't know.
And he said, hopefully we'll do it, kind of like, his vocal inflection went down, less hopeful vocal inflection, because and like a more excited one would have been, we might do that, you never know. But when you're thinking about something where you're in your own head, where it's your external outlook to yourself is not good, you're like, no, we might. No, you're actually legitimately thinking about a scenario in which it won't happen. Still looking off, and like the more he looks off, you can see the more he's concentrating on that thing. And so now he shakes his head. He's like, let me get back to.
Either I've accepted it or I've gone beyond insane to where I can deal with it emotionally. I really don't care. I know that I'm too stubborn to allow myself to ever compromise our music or
agitated,
get so wrapped up in it and involved to where it's going to turn us into big rock stars. I mean, I just don't feel like that.
And so now we know that possibly his passing, there was a little bit of what was baked into his passing was a little bit of rejection of this rigidity in the structure of life. And it was a little bit of a stand. He was taking a stand. You could think of it as, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to compromise. I'm not going to be who you're trying to make me to be. Right. I wish he had more time, or I wish he had given himself more time to really become that, because nowadays, man, we have independent labels. I remember Nipsey, talking about, going independent, and I think that's the wave of nowadays, artists going independent. So they're not, and even Megan Thee Stallion going independent and working out distribution deals, is kind of more where artists are trying to go, because they don't want to be restricted. Because as he's about to talk about, we don't have as much money as you people think we have. We're not as famous. Well, you are famous. You can't dispute that. But what you can dispute is the level of wealth, and riches that you have. And so he's, sort of disenchanted with the way, not only that, how you guys present me, but, that we're these big rock stars, but, and maybe in some sense, we're not as big as people think we are, because we're not really that big. It's just that you see us everywhere because of these, these marketing gurus. But we're not as rich. We don't live the lifestyle. And I'm disenchanted, with the way that my life is being portrayed, to the public, because it's not real. And as we saw before, in his quotes in the intro, he said, I don't want to present myself, and essentially paraphrasing, I don't want to live presenting myself as something that I'm not. And some people have such a strong, reaction to things that try to force them and make them to be something that they don't want to be. And at some point in time, you push him, and he backs up and he says, no, this is it. This is a line. I'm not doing it. You're going to have to do this to me to make me do it. I'm not doing it. No. And people are like, oh, come on, Kurt. This and that, it's not really that bad. He's like, no, I told you no. This is where it ends. And then he goes and does, and goes and does something crazy. And then everybody, is like, hey, Kurt, stop. No, this and that. And when I say crazy, I'm not talking about what actually happened. I'm actually just talking about anything. He could go, and the example that I'm specifically thinking about is he could say, this is the end of the road. This is it. And go pick up like a whole stack of album trophies or something like that are important, things that are worth like maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars or something like that. And he might pick it up, and go to throw it out of the window, and people are like, no, Kurt, those are important things. You should cherish those, and those are worth a fortune. But his disenchantment and his rejection causes him to go pick those things up and say, this is all nothing. None of this means anything to me. It means something to you, but it means nothing to me. And my opinion is the most important. It's more important than these executives and anybody else, because I'm the one who won it. I won it off of my music. So I'm the one who gets a say in saying, whether or not it's important or not. That's what he's saying.
Everyone else accuses us of it, but we're not as popular as everyone thinks, or we're not as rich as everyone thinks. It's just we've always had a good sense of humor. I don't think that's been translated very well, but we'd rather laugh about it. Ha ha ha.
What really surprised me though is you're pretty bright, and your lyrics are, and just your whole stage persona is pretty angry, angst-ridden, frustrated. I mean, you see the world for what it is. Did you ever have second thoughts about bringing a child to the world the way it is?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I really can't describe what changed our attitude so fast. I think, I really was a lot more negative and angry and everything else a few years ago, but that had a lot to do with, not having a mate, not having a steady girlfriend and stuff like that. So that was one of the main things that was bothering me, that I wouldn't admit at the time, So now that I've found that, the world seems a lot better for some reason, it really does change your attitude about things. 4 years ago, I would have said, the classic thing, like, how dare someone bring a child into this life? It's just completely a terrible way to go. And, the world's going to explode.
And that's why I say he was grasping at a girlfriend to try to get that inspiration and that motivation back, because we see what happened after this. He was trying to use that. And it's like, honestly, Kurt, if there's no internal happiness, you can't reach out to other things to make you happy. You have to deal with why you're not happy internally first, and then go and give of yourself to other people. I think that's the biggest downfall that happened here. I'm going to stop the video here, and we're going to jump back in for some more analysis. This is, like I said, man, this is pretty good, but, hopefully he talks a little bit more about this specific thing, because like I said, he's externalizing happiness. Money can't buy you happiness, but he's externalizing, it seems like externalizing happiness. And again, I don't know this guy. I didn't listen to his music. I knew of him, when I was growing up, of course. And I heard of the tragedy, but, I really don't know him any more past that. So, going to jump back into this, next video, but, thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, comment, engage. Let me know what you think thus far. And until next time, take it easy.